why and where this where crosswalking kind of became a passion of mine. I suffered from major depression as a kid from the time I was about 11 years old to the time I was almost 20. 6 attempts of suicide. And when I was 19 years old, the last one, I drank a couple of Drano and bleach. I burned out all my esophagus, a third of my stomach, and I didn't swallow for 2 years. And it was all because of a lie that I was told as a very young kid that I was sad, and then my parents weren't well enough along to be able to see the signs or to know the signs, or because depression is one of those where on the outside you look very happy, but there's a lot going on the inside. There's a battle happening inside of you. So growing up, with my family and my stepdad, integrity was not something that was given to me. It was not taught to me. Was something, not understanding values in life, values in Jesus. I didn't even really know the name Jesus until I was probably 16 or 17 years old. I went to a church called the Worldwide Church of God, Herbert W. Armstrong, and it was a faith-based church that believed in celebrating a lot of the Jewish holidays. I learned a lot about that. I was fasting at the age of 8, 9, and 10 years old. So my background came from a very, very tight religion is kind of where we started. So knowing who Jesus was, I actually gave my life to the Lord 2 weeks before I tried to commit suicide. And just because you become saved and you give your life to the Lord doesn't mean the changes happen automatically, and you do become a new creation. But the things that tied me down to this world were still there. It was something that still held on to me. So in saying all that, that happened right here in Cleveland. All those things happened right here in Cleveland. That life happened right here in Cleveland. I was saved at the Assemblies of God in Cleveland. On Kilpatrick Street there. I can still remember that day very, very vividly. That was the first time that I experienced something that was so peaceful. That was just amazing. For Crosswalking Ministries, it was something that God put on my heart to do. It was an image that He gave me. I preached at a little church called Mount Zion here in Cleveland, and I was given $33 to after I ministered to them. Very, very green, very nervous, very just holding on to the pulpit, not knowing what to say. But in that $33, I took that $33 and I went to Home Depot. And I took that and I bought 8x8 cedar posts, and they were 10 feet long. And I took them up to the register, and I had that $33, and that's all I had was that $33. And I got to the register, and the guy said, hey, we need to get a price check because there's not a tag on these. And I said, all right. So I'm waiting. 3 or 4 minutes go by, and he says, hey, you know what? Just take them. They're yours. Just take them. I've spent a lot of money at Home Depot since then, and I can promise you this: I've never been given one thing for free. And when he said take them, I questioning 3 times. He's like, no, man, just take them. So I took them. I'm like, the guy's saying take them, so I took them. Well, come to find out, that wood was almost $200. $200. But I had $33 and a pocket full of faith. And so I knew from that point on there was nobody that was ever going to tell me that I wasn't meant to carry a cross. Now, that first cross was very heavy. We carried it 14 miles, and there was no wheel on it. July the 4th of 2001, we carried it from the courthouse all the way to the lake and then all the way back to the courthouse. It was an amazing experience. It changed my life. After that, God said, hey, let's build a lighter cross so we can go further. So I did. And so we added the wheel. I've gotten a lot of criticism over the wheel over the years. That's really the first thing kind of people want to say. Well, Jesus didn't have a wheel. Well, there was a man named Simon. And Simon was pulled from the crowd and said, hey, you're going to help him carry this cross. So anytime you see that wheel on there, that's Simon. That's right. So that's, I've walked thousands of miles since 2001 when I first started walking. I'd love to sit here and tell you that I've walked this perfect, graceful life, full of grace for sure, prodigal son over and over again. And I'd like to tell you that everything's just been, honey and roses since then. But it hasn't, because life is life, and we go through life. And there's been a lot of times, there's been, years at a time where that cross sat in my garage. I never got rid of it. I never, where I went, it went. And there was just times and passions in my life where I couldn't walk the cross and be honest with myself if I wasn't being honest with God at the time. You can't fake walking the cross. You can't fake being a Christian. You can't fake in your heart what this true walk is. This walk is truth. We did this amazing study here this last week. We did on Monday, we went through a fast and a no talking. We actually went out to our pastor's house. He has some property out in Glenrose. And we stayed out there, and we did no talking, and we did no eating. We just worshiped, and we studied the Word. And in that, God showed me truth. Truth. I want you to dig into truth more. What is truth? And when you're trying to describe faith, faith is tough to describe sometimes to people because they don't quite understand what faith is and a correlation in their life. But faith and truth are so close together that they both actually mean to be firm, to stand fast, to be steadfast in what you believe. And so I believe that I can translate truth over better than I can to faith, but once you connect them together, guess what you have? You have the belt of truth. You're now connected. You're now aware of that part of the armor that you need. Because without the belt, we're holding our pants with one hand. Without the belt, we don't feel confident in what we're doing and how we approach people with the gospel. And if I can't walk in that truth, I can't walk in the faith that God has given me to carry this cross. So it can't be faked. There's no way it can be faked. When we walk the cross and we go from different towns, we've been in Cleveland. I've probably walked, I normally say I've walked almost every street in Cleveland, and I haven't walked them all, I'm sure, but I sure have walked almost every one of them, and that's truth. I've walked up and down West Hill in Colonial, I don't know how many times. I've walked up and down 174. I've walked in neighborhoods. I've walked at 3 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll walk when nobody else is doing anything. Because out there in those streets, I never know when God is going to send me that one that he's been looking for. When he says, I'll leave the 99 to go find the one. And our ministry is all about finding that one. Because you know what? Most people, 20% of everybody in the United States, based on statistics, even go to church. Those 20% only really go to church 3 out of every 8 Sundays. So the wave of people that go to church fluctuates. But they're all out in the world. They're all out there. Mm-hmm. And we are one of the ministries that believe that going to the streets and finding them in the streets is exactly what Jesus did. And so we're just following the basis. The church is a necessity. It is a necessity for building each other up, for sharpening each other, to come together and worship, to come together and be bold with each other, to come together and to be able to find new ways and avenues in your life, to be able to see things maybe you just didn't see them that way yesterday, but somebody else has been through that same experience. That's what church is for. Mm-hmm. It's an ammo base. Come and get your ammo filled up and go back out in the world and live your life. We are a ministry. It's the hard way, I promise you. 25 miles to Glenrose in 104-degree weather. That's a hard way. Sleeping in a cow pasture and knowing you're going to get up the next morning and to be able to see that sun come up, you know what? It's all worth it. There's my Tempur-Pedic mattress is not out there, I promise you. But we sleep in parks and we sleep wherever the Lord leads us to sleep. King was amazing when we did our Alvarado walk. We actually walked from Cleveland to King and then from King to Alvarado. King opened up the park for us, allowed us to stay there. The director of the Adventist College, beautiful people, absolutely 100%, just really did some amazing things for us. And so it's the favor that we have in this ministry that God is just, the way he's putting things together for us and the way that he's aligning things out. This ministry really has come together back in March. It really started to kind of move along. We built 52 crosses and we put 52 crosses up 174. And I don't know if anybody remembers those crosses being on 174.